Hello, this is my response to week 12 participation for substance abuse class. So, going right into it, number one, when you read and heard about all the areas recovery individuals have to attend in order to avoid relapse, what occurs to you about the nature and duration of post-treatment services and support that recovery people need? So first, um, most of these answers are going to be verbatim um, citations from the video we watched by Dr. Rodriguez. And one thing to note is that the definition of a slip is generally a one-time return to drug use after a period of abstinence. So it's different than a relapse. It's not a complete and total relapse. It's just a slip. And there's a lot of different things that occurred to me of the nature and duration, mainly that it takes a very long time, obviously. It takes consistency, it takes a lot of work for people to continually show up to these post-treatment services, to continue to show up to a 12-week programs. 12 weeks is a very long time. And the support that they need is ongoing. And one thing that Rodriguez emphasize is that relapse is a part of the recovery process. It's normal. And this is very important to note when talking about the things that individuals have to go to avoid relapse, because if you treat relapse as something that is bad and should be shamed upon, then it's not going to work out well, because you need to tell people and teach them acceptance. This is obvious. This is also citing the video that we watched, because it's happened. The recovery isn't over just because it happened. The story continues to unfold despite recovery maybe seeming like it might be over because you had a relapse. It doesn't have to be like that. By accepting that relapses are a part of it, you can give yourself strength and continue to go out there. Also, clients tend to catastrophize the situation right when they have a relapse. They might just say, go out, all out, screw it, might as well, because of um, that one time it happened, they figured it's all over. But this is not true, and that's also very important to know. And notice in this first question, the duration of these post-treatment services. They need to continually go to them, and this process takes a very long time. If just one time they catastrophize the situation, it could potentially stop their whole treatment, and it could stop their whole time in their own mind, because they figure, well, it's over now. It's done. Um, so also another thing to note when in these post-treatment services, this is from Rodriguez, is that people can move to and from pre-contemplation to contemplation, and then back to pre-contemplation. So once again, it's all a moving story. It's an ever-moving process. It's not someone's directly in one area and they can never go backwards. It's a fluid situation that is fluctuating. And that's the nature of these post-treatment services. And that's what they're all about, is supposed to be. It's not one person's story is not streamlined. It's all everyone's different. So in these treatment groups and support, you need to make sure that people just cited by Rodriguez, that you want to have the minimal degree of setback, help get back on track, and just keep continuity of what you're working on. Yeah, and also something important about these post-treatment services is that it provides a social group when you have a new life going forward without drugs. You need new people to talk to, because you're not hanging out and drinking alcohol all the time at bars and things like that. So you need new people to talk to. And then one thing, this is going away from the citations from the YouTube video that we watched. This is now um, what Stout Street Foundation talked about smart recovery, and how this is an alternate to AA, and this is more strength based. It gives homework and shows that urges can be managed. So this is different, because AA really emphasizes the feeling of helplessness, and this is the smart recovery. It's kind of giving you the tools, say, no, you can do it. So I've realized I've gone a long time on the first one, but some salient information as a considered as a treatment provider. You need to make sure that relapse prevention models incorporate the language of addiction. This is from Rodriguez. Some people like the same verbiage use, so it's not necessarily a strength to use uh, um, vocabulary like addict, even though it's not be strength based. Some people are used to it, so this would be helpful. Also, for Rodriguez, you need to make sure that environmental stressors in their life are accounted for, what mechanisms in place are lacking. External events are could be causing some of these relapses and causing what is making them go back to it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be all their fault. It doesn't have to be um, just they were weak at one moment. Everything leading up to it and the outside events can also happen. And so some important information to consider as a treatment work provider and how this differs from other professionals in the approach is that you have to realize that these people are individuals and that they you can't just use one treatment model or treatment modality and paint with a broad brush and say that affects everybody. Um, these people have different stories. They have individual lives and individual circumstances that may lead them to needing more help, needing different types of resources for them. Um, so treatment providers sometimes, for medical based, for example, they'll give like the same amount of pills. There's like a regimented schedule for how people need to heal. But in these, using a social work lens, you need to understand that people's experiences are their own, and that people deserve individual treatment. And as a provider, you need to give people that, or they won't they won't succeed. So moving on, if the is a goal of drug-free schools realistic, I don't believe it's totally realistic in just in totality because that's very cut and dry. But I think you can minimize it. And this is from a textbook, Beam and Murray. One way that you could potentially minimize drug use is through signage, messages that provide helpful coping information to increase self-efficacy could be accepted. For example, that's straight out of Beacon and Murray. Um, so like things on the wall talking about anti-smoking, for example, or alcohol and the negative effects it can have on signage can be helpful in schools. That could definitely minimize it. And then the other way that I thought you could help minimize it in schools is from understanding the social ecological approach. This is also from Beacon and Murray. So know that there are things going around the person, the individual that affect them. There's the individual, which is the person. Then there's the interpersonal relationships, which is their family and friends, which affect their amount of substance they're shown and the amount of substances that are around them. And then organization, the school, how the school is reacting and the people at the school, if they have access to it and how they're um, going about it. Community leaders, if they have teachers or church advisors, and I wrote parent club supports too, these make a massive difference in the child's life as to if they have good supports and good guides to substance use and how to prevent it. And then society, the school board, if the school board is making vast changes and efforts to make sure that it is being dealt with, and the mayor can make laws and the governor as well in the town. So the state. So what prevention models would I adopt to my efforts? So I would make sure to accept relapse as a process, emphasize every day that trying. The daily fight shows that you are still in control and you solve it with effort. And I'd use CBT because it can help people cognitively reframe how they may view the substance, and motivational interviewing to try and motivate them to change and grasp recovery. Pros and cons in this. Some pros is that motivational interviewing could give students the strength to change if they are using to do it on their own without necessarily having to give them answers to their own problems. It's motivating them and pushing them to do it um, and give them strength to do it. And CBT is also a pro because it's one of the most widely used and accepted therapeutic modalities. And this prevention model would really help because it's shown to work for all age groups, not just older or younger people. Some cons is that we talked about in class how motivational interviewing can sort of be like the therapist is guiding and coaxing the client a little bit, which can be seen as a con sometimes because it's very sort of streamlined and rigid in its practice. So it can be sort of seen as pushing them to just show them what to do, which doesn't really tackle the problem itself head on sometimes as most. And then with cons for CBT, sometimes there may not be a real enough distortion formed for CBT yet to apply. So, and this is CBT was I was thinking more for like relapse, like reframing and recognition about substances in general. But in terms of prevention, it may not be the most helpful unless it could be a helpful for reframing prevention about how they view a drug, maybe if it's cool or not. So yeah, that was my answers. I will put the references in the email.